Okay, so this is my first proper video, and obviously this is not going to be that I don't procrastinate video, because I do. That's coming next with Keely's video. This is a video of study tips because whilst I am very good at procrastinating, I'm also quite good at studying when I actually sit down and study. And I know quite a few tips that I've learned over the years that I would like to share with people. And also some ideas that I pinched from the internet, so these are not all my ideas. I don't take credit for all of them, I'm sure other people do them as well. This is just things that you can do that can help you study. So, first of all, you really have to keep yourself hydrated. I mean, if you have a headache, there's no way you're going to study efficiently. You'll just kind of sit there feeling awful. You also just have snacks. If you get hungry whilst you're studying, and you know that you get hungry, just have snacks on the table, because just like in procrastinating, it's going to be a thing that stops you from studying, and you're going to think, oh, I need to go get some food, and then you'll use the time that you could be using to study to go and get food. So now I have some things you can do that can help, that can work for some people. Sometimes they don't work for people. So the first one would be note cards. So you can have little ones, which I have here. You have little ones like this, and you just write your information on them. You can flip them, things like that. For me personally, note cards don't really work, but I know for a lot of my friends, note cards are really helpful. So I think if you haven't tried it, then it's definitely something that you should try. And other ideas are just posters, post-its, sticking things on your bedroom wall. So, as you know, I did my GCSEs. Well, I did my IGCSEs. And for my German GCSE, I had these 3 really big posters, and I wrote my German speaking thing on the posters, and then I stuck them on my bedroom wall. And because of that, I managed to get the grade that I wanted to get, because speaking is my worst thing for any language subject. For me personally, taking notes again, going through the syllabus, ticking things off from the list, and just making the notes again, really colourfully and everything, that's what really worked for me. I know maybe for the IB that won't work as much because there's just so much to learn and there's not as much time. Re-note taking, just making notes, writing things over and over again. It might seem really boring, but it is one of the things that really helps you remember, and it helps things stick in your mind. And I know it might not be for everyone, but just try it. If you haven't, why am I still holding that? Apparently, if you read something the night before, or if you read something before you sleep, you're more likely to remember it in the morning. I don't know how true that is, but I've tried it and it seems to work. So if there's something you just want to read through, so for example a book that you need for English, or even if it's just your notes from that day, if you read through them the night before, it may help you to remember things. Now, one thing that really works for me is using colours in my notes. It just makes it easier to look through, it makes it prettier. I like pretty things, don't judge me. And so it's nicer to study from, and it's not that much effort to write your notes in class with some colours, and it's not that much effort to write your study notes with colours either. One thing that I think is extremely important and everyone should do is you should try and ask your teachers for a copy of the syllabus, because sometimes there are things in class that you might not think are as important, or you didn't take good notes that day because you felt bad, or something had happened for whatever reason, or if you missed the class and you didn't get notes for that and you forgot to ask your friends. I think it's really important that you get a copy of the syllabus for every class, especially in IB, because there's so much to learn, and how would you possibly know whether you know everything unless you have a syllabus to look at and go, oh yeah, I can take that off, or oh yeah, I haven't done that, maybe I should go and research. I just really think that that would be extremely useful, because then you will be confident that you actually know the things you need to know. One of the things about studying for me is that some people can just sit down and study for 2 hours and it works for them. Other people need to take breaks. So for example, if you can only study for 45 minutes and then stop, do it, and then take a break and then start again. You need to find a length of time that works for you when you're studying, otherwise it won't work. And if someone else can sit down and study for 4 hours, which I think is ridiculous, I've never met anyone who could do that, but if you find someone who can do that, you shouldn't feel guilty if you can't do the same thing, because everyone's different, everyone's brains are different. There's no shame in only being able to concentrate for 45 minutes, or, I mean, whilst I think it's quite impressive if you can sit down and concentrate for 3 hours, not everyone will be able to do that. Another idea is talking things out to yourself, because sometimes the only way you'll really understand something is if you hear it being spoken. So for me, if there's something that I don't understand in biology, I can just read it out to myself out loud, because sometimes reading things in my head, it doesn't make sense, and then I'll read it out loud and it makes a lot more sense. And I think it also helps you to remember it because it's being spoken, and some people are auditory learner. There you go. If you're an auditory learner, maybe speaking things out to yourself would really help. I also think that teaching someone else the idea can help things that stick into your memory. So for us, I mean, we're going to be doing this YouTube channel, and for some of the videos we'll be doing things like biology that we found hard, which will help it stick in our minds. So if you can find someone who is willing to just sit down and listen to you teaching things, that's really helpful and it helps you to remember things. Another idea is finding sources that are not your teacher, because the teacher is just one person and they're not God and they don't know everything, but also they can only explain things in a certain way that makes sense to them. So if they're explaining something and you don't understand how they're explaining it, maybe you could go to YouTube and find someone else who has explained it, or go on biology again. There's this thing called Ninja Biology, and that really helps me sometimes understand things that are way too complicated because it's very simple.
Crash course.
And also Crash Course Biology on YouTube, that's great. I use that all the time. And one last thing that I'm going to say is, if you cannot work in silence, find some music that just can be your background music, but don't go for music that you know, or music that has words with a catchy tune. Find, I don't know, classical music works for me, but some people find classical music boring. You could also find noises like ocean sounds, forest sounds, just something that's calming and won't distract you from your work, but will also help to just dull the silence if you hate studying in silence. Because I know sometimes studying in silence, it gets a bit oppressive. The oppressive silence bore down, like, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Poeticness getting into this video. But yeah, so that's really all for this video. I hope some of this helped. I gave a lot of ideas, and like I said, not all of these come from my brain, so I don't take credit for all of them. But that's it. I hope you like this video and I hope it's helpful. Bye!